Good evening, everybody, and welcome. It is Monday night, our weekly Team Mango Zoom call, and I am super excited about our guest tonight. Stick around after Erin shares with us because I do have a few announcements I want to make sure that everybody is aware of, but we're going to turn it over to Erin. Erin is a new friend, and Erin, I love this. You are from Newcastle, Oklahoma. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes.
We live on Newcastle, so we're destined to be friends.
Oh, that's
we're
fun.
Here in Texas, in Frisco, Texas, and Erin is an Emerald ambassador, and I've just heard snippets of her story, and everything I've heard has been so inspirational and so inspiring. And so, without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to you, Erin.
Thanks, girl. So, as Jennifer said, my name is Erin Crowell, and if there's a lot of background noise, let me know. My sister lives right along a highway, and it's in a very old, like 1900 house that there's no central air conditioning, and it's actually like blazing hot for Pennsylvania. I'm in Pennsylvania right now visiting family and friends, and so if it gets loud with cars driving by or whatever, just motion to me, and I'll bite the bullet and shut the window. So anyways, I'm not very made up and fancy when I do calls. I just kind of wing them and kind of just fly by the seat of my pants because that's kind of how I am. But as Jennifer said, I live in Newcastle, Oklahoma, and my Plexus story is a wild one. I've been in Plexus since 2013. April 2013 was when I started, and I was one of the goofy ones that got the products at wholesale. I was very nervous, didn't really know what I was doing, and I ordered wholesale. And then 9 days later, I signed up and paid my $34.95 because I did not have the money for a welcome packet. I spent 13 years as a social worker, and that is and was my passion. Still helping people every day, obviously through Plexus and being an ambassador. That's what we do. We motivate and encourage people to make changes with their lives. So I feel like I still get my social work fix. I spent 8.5 years in children and youth. It was miserable. There was a lot of wonderful things. Children and youth is what we call DHS in Pennsylvania. So for those of y'all wondering, there was a lot of wonderful sides to it. Actually, I came up to Pennsylvania to go to a graduation of one of my foster kids that I still am in contact with and have been able to be a mentor to her and to be a support for her along the way. And she came into care when she was 12, and she just turned 18 on Saturday. So I've been able the Lord has blessed me with having that relationship with her, and I'm so thankful. And she's one of the most amazing success stories that God has ever blessed me to be a part of. And so I drove from Oklahoma to Pennsylvania last week to be a part of that. And then my older sister is having a baby on Wednesday. And so I'm driving downstate Pennsylvania where she lives near Philadelphia to visit her and the baby when they get all done with the C-section. So talk about Plexus freedom. I have been social work free as far as retired, so to speak. I know that we can't make that claim specifically that Plexus retires us, but I no longer work 9 to 5 in the field of social work.
Stop.
So I can make that claim as far as it's been amazing to be able to work the last 1.5 years of my business, my Plexus business, with the freedom to just do Plexus solely. When I moved out to Oklahoma in 2015, I worked briefly at a coffee shop for extra cash and to network and meet new people. And that quickly became where I was not making enough money to justify the time that I was taking away from my Plexus business. So I did that for about 4 months and then decided that I was just going to be really bold with my faith and put all my trust in Jesus, more so than what I already had. So it's been great as far as to have the opportunity to do Plexus full time. Sorry, I'm trying to switch something on my camera here. There we go.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay still?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. All right. So back up a little bit. So 2013 was when I started using the products. I shared that after 9 days of using the products, I went ahead and did wholesale ambassador, but just the website fee, because as a social worker, I was not making a lot of money. And I honestly was at the point where I didn't have a lot of cash. I was not good with my budget. Social workers make very little money. They don't do it for the money. They do it for the love of helping people. So that's one thing that's pretty unique that I'm pretty bold about, because everybody's always like, it was gangbusters from the start. I just went Emerald in April of 2017. So I'm a little bit different in the way that I'm a slow cooker. I'm a slow cooker with my growth. I'm a slow cooker with my leadership, and that's okay. I always try to tell people on my team, there's no time frame. I didn't quit social work after 4 years of doing it because I didn't feel like because I felt like I hadn't made it to the top of social work. You know what I mean? I wasn't even in a supervisory position as a social worker my entire career. I was a caseworker, and that was social work. Being a supervisor in social work was something that never appealed to me at all, because it was so much more stress than being in the field. You had all kinds of crazy responsibility. So that never was appealing to me whatsoever. So when things started to take off, probably about 2015 was when I turned senior gold. So from 2013 to 2015, I went silver in 11 months. It was not like a weekend and I'm like, woo, I got 3 people to join me. It was like, they started, then they stopped. They started, then they stopped. and I am so candid about that, Jennifer, because I think that people really put restrictions on God's ability to move in our business and to give him the control. So I just always try to encourage people to not limit him and not put constraints on it, because even still as an Emerald, I'm like, obviously, like I've got a goal in mind of when I would love to go Sapphire and when I'd love to go Diamond, but ultimately, like, my effort has to match my faith. And if my faith doesn't exceedingly like reach to the heavens, then I'm insulting him. That's how I believe. So I feel like that's something. So from silver to gold was another 10 months. And then from gold to senior gold was a year and like 4 months, I think. And then from there, like once I hit senior gold, the momentum really started building, because I've got a couple strong legs on my team, and that just really took off, and it was amazing. Literally, when I moved to Oklahoma from Pennsylvania, that's when it was like amazing. So a little side note, I had been dating someone that I met, briefly dating someone that I had met through a Plexus friend in Oklahoma. And that relationship actually ended before I moved to Oklahoma, but I had already had my heart set on moving there. And I prayed and I was like, okay, Jesus, like, it's obviously not going to work out with what's his name. And so, like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I already fell in love with being out west, and I call out west like Oklahoma, even though some people call it the South, but I call it out west because anything from Pennsylvania is west. So that's kind of how I look at it. I get picked on all the time for saying that, but so I really like did some hardcore praying and laid it down at God's feet and was like, okay, if this is what you want me to do, I know that you're going to help me succeed in this business and help me flourish and grow and get stronger in my relationship with you. And he has done nothing but that. And it's crazy when I stop and think about the fact that, like, the amazing things that have happened for me, not just in my business, but in my spiritual walk and just the growth in me as a person, and finally being like, okay, maybe it doesn't take a village to raise Erin, and making some good decisions on my own. And so I'm kind of going all over the place, but that's just really my personality. So I'm just really giving you a true glimpse into what goes on here. But when I started in 2013, 3 days into it, my sister, my best friend, and a really good friend that I worked with at CYS, they were all kind of looking at me going, well, wait a minute, you started this stuff for weight loss, but you're a lot nicer. Is that stuff supposed to make you nice too? And I was like, I don't know. Like I'm kind of hoping that it helps with my emotional health. That was part of one of the reasons that I started it, but it was drastic enough in how it was balancing my hormones, because even though I've never had babies, I don't have balanced hormones by any means. So I don't have the excuse of like kids or menopause or anything like that. Jesus just gave me crazy hormones from the get-go, and has been a trial to balance them my entire life. So within 3 days, it was enough of a change that my friends and my best friend, my sister, were all like, what are you doing? We got to sign up. So that was when I just paid the $34.95 to get a website. So they would order off me and not my sponsor. So it was really selfish. It wasn't like, I have this aspirations of building this business. I just wanted to make a buck off of them. So I did that, and it's been huge for my weight loss. My testimony is pretty awesome. I've been able to lose 95 pounds and go from a size 26 down to an almost 14. And for any dudes that are watching, that's a lot of sizes. So I always try to say, like, for the guys in the room, it's literally from like a 42 down to like a 32 or a 30. Like, it's like from like a chunky dude to like I'm a GQ model. You know what I mean? So, and a 14 to me is a GQ model in my eyes, or a Sports Illustrated model, because when you're 315 pounds, like, being a size 14 is amazing. So that's taken that's taken a lot of change with my diet, my flexible eating, like, as far as like, I really monitor like what kind of food I put in my body. I use it for fuel and not comfort anymore. And that's where Jesus has totally come in and helped me with like lots of different things, like making sure that it's, I'm eating for a purpose and not just because I'm bored. I also do fitness now more than I've ever done in my life. So that's something that has been key. And I'm not shy about it when people say, oh my gosh, how'd you lose so much weight? And I said, I got off my butt, and I was able to get off my butt because I had energy, and I stayed motivated because my hormones were balanced, and it wasn't like going wonky all the time. And I was seeing some success pretty quickly without even exercise. But once I added the exercise and changed it up, it's just been phenomenal. And since the new products, I broke through a plateau that I was kind of sitting at, and traveling on the road. Like, I don't know if anybody does that a lot, but you don't always have awesome, amazing choices for food and things like that. And I'm still able to see results with the products. So when people tell me that the products just don't work for them, I really give them a lot of tough love and say, all right, let's really pick this apart and let's be straight with each other. And like, what are you doing? So,
advice.
Yeah, I don't know what else you want me to share. I kind of just spewed out the last 4 years of life.
I love it. I think you hit the nail on the head. For so many people, we see the bright and shiny. Corporately, we see that. We see that when people post on Facebook, whether they're posting the good or the bad, we tend to pay attention to the good. And so for a lot of people, and I know probably you have a lot of people on your team, I have tons of people on my team who think, what am I doing wrong? Why have I not done this? I've been at this business 2, 3, 4 years, and I'm not where I thought I was going to be. And I love what your journey has done is paved the way of hope for so many others, and also redirected our focus to realize it's not about our timing. And it's easy to say that, but when you watch somebody walk through it and still see the fruit, that you can turn emerald in 4 years, you can diamond in 6 years, whatever it might be. Because I turned emerald in 10 months back in, really crazy fast. But then I've stayed at emerald for 3 years. And so, again, it's not about my timing. It's about God's timing, and it's about growing. And it sounds like you have done a lot of personal growth as well. One question I have that I think we get a lot is, what did you do to stay motivated in those times when it was slower, or you felt like, gosh, I should have been there, knowing the God factor in the card of I'm waiting on his timing. But what did you do, practically speaking, to keep yourself moving in the right direction?
Honestly, I kept thinking about my crappy job that I worked for 8.5 years as a caseworker. I mean, straight up, like I snatched babies like at 2 a.m. in the morning. I, like placed them in foster care, ripped them out of homes. Like, it sucked. Like, it was a hard job. So being stuck at like senior gold, I mean, I wasn't at senior gold very long, but even from like gold to senior gold. I was making at gold because I had such high PV at that point. I was making enough that like it was almost matching my social work salary. So I had the freedom to do, I mean, social workers don't get paid much. So when you say, wow, it was literally like what the average of gold is, but it was so amazing to know that like I could do work at a very minimal effort compared to working 60 hours a week and get paid the salary that people do, or the monthly income that people do at gold. Right. So for me, it was literally like thinking that crap job that I had for 8.5 years and knowing that I did not want to be 65 years old, still working 40 hours a week, snatching babies. You know what I mean? Like, I just was like, okay, I'm 35 years old now. So I was like 32, 33 at the time, like sitting pretty good at 33 years old to be on a track of like, and my prayer literally was 5 years. I was like, Lord, okay, 5 years, I just want to get to where I can retire. And from the time that I started praying that bold prayer, it was a year's time.
Wow.
1 year.
That's
so it's like, I feel like he loves to show off for us, but we have to give him that crazy, insane faith to say, you know what, you're in control, not me. And I'm just going to like do what the action that matches the crazy faith, like, because you have to do action too.
Yeah.
And that's staying positive and being like a huge proponent of like, what do I want to say? Personal growth, but also for me, it's been spiritual growth too. Like I can't not say that, because for me, that's been a huge thing. And I don't try to push anything on anybody, but for me, it's enough that like, I can't not talk about it.
It's just part of who you are. It oozes out. Yep. That's okay. That's awesome.
It is.
I love that. And I loved your phrase, and I wrote that down, that's going to be an Erin Crowell statement right there, that your effort or your action has to match your faith. That's a powerful statement in itself. I also want to talk about this dirty little secret you'd even like alluded to, that you had started your business only with the $34.95, and how we talk about with our team not to do that. But in your case, like, think about if somebody had said, no, you can't do it, you have to wait. How awesome was that? So I would love your thinking about, what was it inside of you that early on? Was it just your girlfriends and your friends that wanted to order that was motivation enough to work
for real? Okay. Yeah, for real. And I mean, it was because, I thought, okay, if my sponsor had made, like say $50 off of me, and if I had 3 people that were willing to order and I could make the $50 off of them, then why not pay that $34.95 at that point? And obviously at that point, I went back in, I called customer service, and I had the option to, get my welcome pack, and I did. And I got it within 2 weeks, because at that point, like, I was just waiting on my payday at that point. And so I got my paycheck I think it was the next Friday, and called into customer service and got my welcome pack. So obviously I don't ever tell anybody like, don't get your welcome pack, because that's one heck of a deal for the ambassador, as far as to get the best discount. So I don't ever tell people that, but I do say, hey guys, really, you can just pay your $34.95 today, and then we can get you set up, like, save, 25, 30, 40, whatever bucks that you need to get some people. You could turn around and sell that retail to make your money back quickly. Like, there's all kinds of options. You just have to be creative with that, and know that it's really meeting people where they're at. You know what I mean? And my sponsor did not push me to say, no, you have to get the welcome pack so she could make her $50 or her $25 off me right then. She was just like, okay, go do that, whatever, but she was just as new as I was. So we were kind of just like learning both together.
Yeah.
So
love that. I was going to ask a question, and you kind of have answered it in just your last statement, but when we so commonly have the objection of cost, and it sounds like in the environment you were in, there was a lot of challenges for people, including yourself, the objection of cost. So what is your, outside of signing up for your membership for $34.95, when you're talking to somebody, they need the products or this opportunity, how do you meet that financial objection that they can't afford it?
So I basically say, guys, I literally was living negative, insufficient funds to insufficient funds. So I know what you're talking about as far as not being able to afford this stuff. So I always say, what's your biggest hurdle right now that you are not being able to meet with, what's the biggest setback? If they say my cravings, okay, well, what kind of cravings? So I ask a couple of questions. And then one thing that I always say to people, and I think it just gains a lot of respect with people, is I say, what's your budget? Mm-hmm. And I say, I don't necessarily need to know what your income is, but I want to know
what can you afford?
You can take out of your budget to be able to put towards these products. So it's very important to say, I don't need you to start on the triplex. I don't need you to start on, the Fab Five or anything like that. I need to meet your need as far as what your immediate health concern is that we're trying to get through, and then go from there and show them quickly how fast they can make some money. Like I had a girl sign up in January, and she had to wait 2 weeks before she had enough money for her welcome pack. And I was like, okay, fine. And then she was like, I'm not going to be able to get all the products at first that she wanted to add on besides the triplex. And I said, that's fine. Just wait wait until you make your first check. I saw her this weekend, and this is her third check. And she was like, Erin, my check was $400. And she's a single mom, or not a single mom, a stay-at-home mom whose husband is a firefighter, and like they don't make a ton of money. Like firefighters don't, you know what I mean? Like they do it to save lives, kind of like social workers. They're not in it for like the big bucks, like investment people or whatever. And so she was floored. And so she in turn was like, all right, I've got my stuff paid for. Now my kids can do BioCleanse every day instead of every other day. And it's just going to help them. So like, it was slowly building up. And she's like, I just tell people, I got 3 people, and I started making money. And then of course the pay point went up, and this month it was awesome with a 30-cent increase in our pay point. I was like,
yeah, that was fun.
I was so excited. Everybody on my team got a raise this month. Everybody. Doesn't matter what level they were at. The silvers got a raise because it was still something more.
Yep. I love that. So here's my last question. Being in the business, you and I have been in the business about the same amount of time. What is one of the challenges is continually sharing with new people. So could you share a tip with how you do that on a regular basis, what that looks like?
Well, as far as here's a good example. My sister, whose house I'm at right now, we have 499 mutual friends. So we have a huge similar market that we both try to reach, right? But she has a different story than what I do. And I'm always like evolving. Like I just put a picture up as far as like my visit home with like my family, put pictures of them up. And then I said how awesome it was to be present in my family's life again, like spending time with them. And like, so being creative with like how you share your story and making it as vulnerable and as real as you can. If it makes you want to puke, then you hit post. Like for real, because that is going to be something that is going to relate to that woman that's been watching you. And if all you're doing is sharing other graphics or other stories, why do you think that they want to like trust you and build a rapport with you if you're not being candid in some ways? And I'm not saying like have therapy on Facebook. I don't mean that. You know what I mean? Like you got to go to your best friends and, like cry over some wine, whatever it takes, but don't put it all on Facebook, but definitely let people see a side. So it's always being creative with like learning how to share. And that's been a lot of just one of my mentors has been a really great example of that. And also just being in the business of social work, like you have to connect with people fairly quickly to get them to trust you, to buy into wanting to make some changes. So I kind of have that experience under my belt, but being a storyteller is huge. So any Kendra Hall stuff, you guys got to watch that because that girl is spot on. She was at convention at Leaders Retreat last year, and she really does a good job of just learning how to tell stories. And don't spam. I'm sorry, I'm getting kind of mean. I was like, don't say like, thank you, Plexus, for my brand new Louis Vuitton purse. You're not going to relate to a mom who's about to have her electric shut off.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, think about what it was like when you were living insufficient funds to insufficient funds. Like, I don't care how embarrassing that is. That's going to bring you trust and rapport and respect from your warm market.
Love it. Oh my gosh, Erin, you're a sweetheart and a powerhouse. And I just thank you so much for taking the time during your vacation.
Oh, girl, I'm working. It's not vacation.
Okay, working it with family. I love it. You've been a pleasure. Thank you so much again. And I
Thank you for inviting me.
I know that there was a lot of value in the little nuggets in your story that you shared. So thank you for being so vulnerable and giving it to us tonight.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you. I'm going to stop the recording. You are welcome to leave whenever you would like.